Hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lita Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am all about the brand new Flowering Zinnias suite from the new online exclusives that were just launched today. Now, this suite is one that as soon as I saw it, I was like, I need to get my hands on this because it has all the things I love. It has beautiful florals, it has bright, bold colors, and a fantastic stamp set for coloring. So, of course, it went right on my pre order list, and I have been having so much fun. In fact, so much fun that I couldn't stop playing with it. And before I knew it, I had so many projects that I just knew that I couldn't get them all done in one live. So I decided I'm going zany for zinnias this week, and you're going to get me 3 times this week. So we have our regular live at 5 today, and then you're going to get 2 bonus episodes, one on Thursday evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and then another one on Friday evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So, I'm heading into March break. So, this is why I can manage to swing 3 lives in one week. Typically, I can't because my life is just a little hectic. But this week, things are winding down as we head into the break. So, I thought, why not? Let's showcase this fabulous suite. So, if you are joining me, whether live or watching the replay, give me a hello and let me know where you're watching from so that I know that I'm not talking to myself. I mean, my family's used to me talking to myself, but it's always nice to know somebody's out there with me. All right, we've got Gina K from Spring Lake, New Brunswick. Yes, it is Spring Lake here too. It has been beautiful. Yesterday was a high of 21 degrees Celsius here in Ontario, which is insane for March. That never happens. So it was lovely. And I had my class out at the park and we had a great time. We got Sonia and Julie. Hi, Carla. Thanks for sharing, Sonia. Hi, Jen. Welcome. You made a live. Well, I'm glad you're here with me. Hi, Jill. Welcome. Hi, Crystal from Uxbridge, not too far away. Who else have we got? Angelique and Julie and Colleen from Calgary. The zinnias are amazing, I have to say. Hi, Gail. Yes, it is a bonus week this week. You're going to get lots of, you're going to be sick of me by the time I'm done. We've got Laura from Wellbridge, Ohio, Terry, and Mary from Indianapolis. All right, well, let's get to it. Let me show you the products. So just so you know, if you come back later this week, I'm not going to take the time to showcase the suite each video because I figure if you're watching this first one, you probably don't need to see it two more times. So let me flip to my desk and I'll show you the products. These are brand new, just released today. And one of them actually has sold out already, believe it or not. But don't be upset. It's nothing major. So let me show you what's part of this suite. So we have to start this fantastic bundle called Simply Zinnia. And I'm going to apologize if I'm clearing my throat a lot. I have a sinus cold that I've had since last week, and it just is hanging on. So I've got, yeah. Anyway, you don't need to know the details, but it's not fun. And so my voice is cutting in and out, but I'm going to try and get through today. Okay. So fantastic stamp set, beautiful images to color. I'm going to color them twice today. Well, actually, all 3 cards he's coloring today because they're so beautiful. And then some really pretty sort of gratitude, thank you sentiments. I really like this one, sending flowers and thinking of you. I just think that's a lovely sentiment to put in the mail for anybody, right? For any occasion. So I think that's just so pretty. And then we have fabulous dies. So open dies to cut out the stamped images, and then great builder dies. So I'm actually going to show you a project because it's hard to see, kind of envision what all of these builder dies do. So here is a card I put together using those builder dies. Look at those awesome 3D zinnias. They really pop off the card. And we've got the little bud and then the zinnia. And of course, if you want them to be fuller, you can layer. This is one of each size die cut. But if you want fuller zinnias, you can certainly keep layering and really make them look very lifelike. But aren't those fantastic? Love those. All right, so that is the bundle. And then we have an embossing folder, and you're going to see that in action on a couple of our projects today. It's really hard to tell what it looks like when you don't see it on embossed cardstock, but you're going to see that. So I'm not going to take the time to talk too much about that now, but you will see it in a few minutes. And then we have these embellishments. So these sadly are already out of stock. They sold out during demonstrator pre-order, which says a lot. Now, these are simply adhesive back sequins. So they're not a deal breaker for the suite. So if you go to order the suite, you will find the suite says currently unavailable. Doesn't mean all the products, it's just this one thing, the embellishments, okay? So don't get discouraged if you go to try to order these because you fall in love with it and then can't get the entire suite. It simply means you can't get these embellishments, okay? They're going to be out of stock until April. All right, now the sort of showpiece of the suite for me is the fabulous, fabulous DSP. So we have bold, bright colors, totally leaves us wanting spring for wherever we are. And so look at these gorgeous colors in this. So we have these large zinnias. Look at this for easy card fronts. You're going to see that on one of the projects I'm going to demonstrate later in the week. We've got this little zinnia pattern, little itty bitty zinnias. We've got this sort of tone on tone in Melon Mambo. Love that look. We've got some greenery, and then we've got these small. Now did you notice how these are not quite 12 by 12? It's because I've almost used an entire pack of this paper just playing with it. So I only have this much left of these two sheets, but this one is fantastic for fussy cutting. You're going to see lots of these on Thursdays live. And then this one, again, great for backgrounds and to layer these on top of. So that is the front side. And then, of course, when we flip them over, we have some more sort of single or more subdued patterns, I guess is the right way to say it. So we have this one. It's pumpkin pie, little tiny blossoms there. And then this great lattice. I love that. We have this petal pink polka dots, but actually if you look really, really closely, they're itty bitty zinnias. Look how cute that is. Such adorable paper. And then we have this sort of crosshatch pattern. We've got a diagonal stripe, and then we've got this fabulous purple grid. So there we go. Such gorgeous. Green leaves remind you of green acres. Oh, Lori, yes, you're right. Hi, Debbie. Welcome. I'm so glad you're able to join me today. So that is the suite. So we're going to make 3 cards today, 3 cards on Thursday, and 3 cards on Friday. I'll talk more about what you can expect at the end of today's episode. Okay, so our first card today is this one. Now I posted this I think yesterday, so I wanted to do the zinnias in a slightly different color palette than was featured on the DSP. So this is in Highland Heather. So I've already done a whole bunch of the work here, but let's talk for a minute about this beautiful image. So I've stamped this in Memento black ink, and then I'm using my Stampin' blends to color. So the leaves, I've already colored in all of the leaves. I used only dark soft seafoam. So I actually colored once the entire thing in dark soft seafoam and then came back and added the shadows with a second layer. And it's amazing how much shading you can get just with one shade of the Stampin' blends. Now to do the blossoms, I'm using my dark and light Highland Heather. So I'm going to start laying down a layer of the light. And if you watched me color with blends before, you know that I prefer to put down a layer of light first before I add my shadows. I just find that I get a better, they're easier to blend because the paper is already damp from the lighter shade. So just going to put down that layer of light, and then I'm going to come in with my dark. Again, this is Highland Heather I'm using, and I'm actually going to use my other tip because this one's just about done. I'm going to come in with my dark, and I'm just kind of following, again, those shade marks on the stamped image. And then again, I'm going to come back with my light and blend that out a bit. Now, the other reason I like doing it this way is because once I've done my blending, then I still have my light in my hand to go on and start my next section. So call me lazy. I don't have to swap markers a whole bunch of times here. So I'm going to start my next segment. Now you'll notice I'm not coloring the entire image with the light first. I'm working in segments. That is so that the ink does not dry and stays damp, so to make that blending that much easier. So I'm just going to come in with a little bit of the dark, and then again pull some of that out and blend it. Now the other thing, do you see the difference in color? You see how much lighter this is than this? I actually almost thought that I was doing the wrong color when I started, but this actually, once it dries, it does dry quite a bit darker. So don't be alarmed if when you're coloring, you find that your colors are not quite what you expect. Let it dry. The best thing I find to do when I'm using blends is I just color a little sample, a little swatch, before I actually start coloring my image, just to see what the colors are going to blend like and what they're actually going to look like once they're dry. Because as I said, they can change quite a bit. It's kind of like when you paint a room, right? And your paint chip says one thing, you get it on the wall while it's wet and it looks very different, and you start to think you've made a terrible mistake. But then you come back a few hours later once it's dried and everything's good. That's how I kind of feel about some shades of Stampin' Blend. Some of them really change more than others once they dry. So let's just fill this in. And again, come back and blend that out. And you can see this side has already started to dry, and it's quite a bit darker than the part that I'm working on right now. I got two-tone flowers. All right, the center, I'm just using light Daffodil Delight. I am going to use my bullet tip here. And I'm just kind of going over those little star shapes and the center. I'm doing this all in one color. The next card, I'm going to do a two-tone center, but this one's all just yellow. So there we go. There's our colored image. Easy peasy. And now to put this card together, I have a piece of that gorgeous DSP. It has those, I was very hesitant to use this pattern because I love fussy cutting out these zinnias on the back, but I thought, no, I want to stick with the purple. So here we go. I'm sacrificing zinnias for this card. So we've got 4 by 5 1/4 inches is this piece. Now I'm going to tear the corner off, I don't know, about 1.5 inches up from that bottom right corner. Okay, and when I layer that, we're going to see a little bit of our soft seafoam mat. So to add a little bit of interest, we're going to stamp the leaves from the stamp set tone on tone using soft seafoam ink. So I'm going to start with these guys. And of course, I'm only doing this little itty bitty section in the corner here, so it's not like I have to do a whole lot of stamping. Okay, now I am going to come in with a blending brush, which I forgot to bring over, so I'm just going to get up and grab that for 1 sec. And we're going to just do a little bit of blending in that corner, just to darken it down a little bit. I'm not doing the entire thing because, quite frankly, we're not going to see enough of it to make it worth the effort. But this little corner, we will see. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and layer our DSP onto our mat. And you see how we have that nice shaded corner down there. So let's add a little bit of glue here. I'm wrapped up in my shawl again because I'm freezing. It is beautiful outside, but it is not beautiful in my craft room. My husband turns the furnace way down during the day, and I get home and it takes forever for the house to heat up. So my studio is always freezing when I get home. There we go. Now that is going to get layered onto a thick basic white card base. So this is 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So we'll fold that in half along our score line. Oh, Colleen, you like, okay, so yes, the blends, I love them. Don't be afraid of them. My best advice is to stamp a few images and just on some scrap cardstock and just practice. I find that the more you use the blends, the more comfortable you become with them. And I personally, I know a lot of people will start with the dark and start with the shadows and then fill in with the light. I just personally feel I get better results if I start with the light. So it's really a matter of preference, but that's the best I can offer. All right, so there we go. Now here is just one of the stylish shapes circle dies. I think this is the largest one in the set, and I've embossed it using that beautiful Zinnias embossing folder. Look at how pretty that is. Now you're going to see this on a full sheet, so you'll get a better idea of it, but it just has really lovely subtle texture. And we're going to go ahead and glue that right in the middle of our card front here. So a little bit of glue. And I'm just going to stick this on so my zinnias are facing the right way up. There we go. All right, now this is going to get glued on with some dimensionals. So we're just going to add a few to the back of our die cut here. And we'll maybe throw a mini on that leaf there so it doesn't catch. And we'll get rid of our backings. There we go. And then I want my flowers to sort of be highlighted by that circle. It's almost like they're spotlit behind that circle. So there we go. All right, now for our sentiment, this is just a little 1/2 inch scrap that we get when we cut our layers for the insides of our cards. So it's a 1/2 inch by 4. And I'm going to stamp that sentiment, the sending flowers and thinking of you sentiment, just in some Memento black ink. In fact, I think every card I made with this suite so far, I've only used Memento ink. I don't think I used any other color other than the soft seafoam when I was doing that blending. But in terms of stamping, I think everything is in black. Now, the tricky thing here is getting this straight while not being able to look straight down. Oh, that's not too bad. I can live with that. And then we're just going to trim the ends at a bit of an angle. Now, I have a little trick for doing this, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get away with it because my piece is so small. Well, I can try. If I had a larger piece, you would be able to see this more effectively. But basically, you take your ends that you cut off, and you use that as a guide on the other end so that your angles are the same on both ends. Does that make sense? I just had very little scrap there to be able to show you that technique, but it's a good one. All right, now we have a little bit of this ribbon. So this is another new online exclusive. So this polka dot natural trim. If you remember years ago, we had a trim that looked like this. It was just plain. So this time we have options. We can do plain or we can do polka dotted. So I love that little polka dot, a little bit flirty there. So we're going to go ahead and just tuck that in underneath our sentiment banner. So I'm going to add a little bit of seal to the back of my banner here, and it looks like my seal is about to run out. Oopsie. And the nice thing about this ribbon is it has these lines in it that you can use to get your ribbon on straight as a guide, okay? Now, this is going to get layered across our flowers. Remember, these are popped up. So this part is going to be flat. We're going to put a dimensional on the end and then a couple on the other end so that it lies nice and flat on the front of our card. So we'll start with the ends. So 1 and 2. On the other end, I'm going to use a mini dimensional because I don't have a ton of space without it bumping over my popped up flowers. So we'll go ahead and get rid of our backings there and pop this on. And again, the lines on your, if I could look straight down, it would be helpful. The lines on the DSP help you to get that straight, okay? And then the last touch, I felt like this one works really well with some of our iridescent pearls because it's got that little bit of purpley green going on with the iridescence. So they work really nicely with this color palette. So we'll just grab a couple of these and pop them onto our card. Just like that. There we go. So that one is done. Now on the inside of this, all I did was add a little scrap bit of the DSP just to bring a little bit of that purple from the outside in. Okay, so there's number 1 done. Yes, you're right, Gina. It does make it look spotlit. Yeah, you're right. All right, let's carry on to number 2. Set these aside. So this one is one I posted yesterday as well. Different color palette. So this is more in line with the colors that are in the DSP. And I'm going to show you some tips for coloring the zinnias this time. And you know what I found really surprising? Let me show you. So this DSP pattern, right? This is the one with it's this one here. Let me get the full sheet so you can see which one I'm talking about. So this one here is Tone on Tone Melon Mambo. I assumed when I flipped this over that it was still Melon Mambo, but it's actually Real Red with Melon Mambo. And I at first didn't believe it. And then when I actually layered them, can you see the difference in color? And I thought, oh, Stampin' Up's color is off. And then I actually looked at the back of the DSP pack, which I'm not sure if you are aware, but the colors are always printed on the back of the DSP pack. And I saw Real Red. So I pulled out a piece of Real Red cardstock and look at this. Perfect color coordination. So Real Red is actually in this DSP pack, and I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't actually pulled out a piece of Real Red and compared it. All right, there you go. That is my Lena, aha moment for today. So we have a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic white cardstock. And this one, again, I've used that beautiful Zinnia embossing folder, and look at how pretty that embossed image is. And this is one of those folders that looks amazing, embossed or debossed. The debossed side is just as pretty. So then you have the difficult decision of which side to use, right? So I think I'm going to actually use the debossed side on this one because on my sample, I use the embossed. So we'll try both sides and see which one we like. All right, so I had a whole bunch of, again, I mentioned I was playing with this suite, I kind of went a little crazy with it. And I had all kinds of little odds and ends and bits. So when you have little bits of DSP, use them as elements on your card. So this is, what is this? This is like 5/8 of an inch wide. And we're going to use that as a strip on our card base here. So let's start with that. And I'm just going to eyeball it. This is what, maybe 4 3/4, 5 inches long. I did notch the ends. I actually cheated and used a retired punch, but you can use scissors. I like quick and easy. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue to the back of this strip. And again, I'm going to use my grid lines, line up my base here, and use my grid lines to get this on nice and straight. So this is going to go on about 1/4 inch up from the bottom. Okay. Next, I have another little scrap piece. So this is 3/4 inch, I think. Yep, 3/4. And we need it to be a little bit shorter than our first piece. So again, we're just going to add a little bit of glue and kind of eyeball it. Once you get your first piece on, you can kind of eyeball the others. There's that one. And then this one is actually, I think I made that too wide. This should only be a 1/2 inch. What is this? This is 3/8. Oh, well, we're going to have it slightly wider. On my sample, this one's a 1/2 inch. This little scrap is a little bit wider. It could well be that was all I had left at the time because, I used a lot of this DSP. So here we go. We're going to add this one on. And then I'm just going to flip this over and trim off these excess bits here. So it's a great way to use up your little scrap strips. We all have them. None of us want to throw them out because they're pretty, right? So don't hoard them. Use them. There we go. All right, I need a quick sip of water here. Yes, Louise, I use my tailored tag punch too. It's actually sitting right here because I had forgotten that I had punched these ahead of time. So I had it handy in case I needed to punch my banners. All right, so that piece now is going to get layered on a piece of Melon Mambo. Now, I actually considered swapping this out for a piece of real red after I realized that it was actually real red in this. It kind of bothered me, but I'm going to stick to the plan here, and we're going to go with the Melon Mambo. So this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 inches. Again, all of the measurements for all of the cards are in the video description. So if you want to try and recreate any of these or case them with another stamp set, they are right there for easy peasy crafting. So we'll pop this on. There we go. All right, so now that is going to go on to an old olive card base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. What I love about this DSP is it works with just about any green. The only one that I would say probably don't work are garden green. Actually, you could probably get away with garden green. Shaded spruce is probably not the best fit, but any of our other greens work so nicely with this DSP. You can really mix and match. I love it when you don't have to have the exact color, the exact shade, and it still looks good. All right, so let's add a little glue to this. And we'll pop that on to our base. There we go. Oh, I really like the deboss side of this embossing folder. It's really lovely. Okay, let's color our flowers. So these ones, again, I've done most of it, but I've left one undone. To do the leaves, I actually used my dark and light granny apple green, which is another color that's not actually listed on the DSP pack, but it works beautifully. To do my flowers, I'm doing a really unusual combination here. I'm actually using light and dark pumpkin pie and light and dark Melon Mambo. So watch what I do. So I'm going to start with my light pumpkin pie. Again, I'm going to work on just one segment at a time. I'm going to come in here and I'm doing just the top layer of the leaves. or petals, not leaves. These are petals. Flowers have petals. All right, so we're just going to kind of come around with the light pumpkin pie. Okay, so I'm just kind of adding that sort of orange shading. Then I'm coming in with light Melon Mambo, and I'm going to go right over top of the pumpkin pie. And I'm going to color all the way down to the bottoms of the leaves here. Okay, don't worry. I know this is weird. It'll work out, I promise. Because you're probably thinking she's covering up all that orange. What was the point? But you see the difference in shading? You get this really subtle sort of coral shade. So we're going to go all the way around with this. Sorry this is taking a while, but you know, I wanted to show you how cool it is to shade this way. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit of dark Melon Mambo. And I'm going to add that sort of in and around my petals here. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with dark pumpkin pie. Oops, I got to use the other end because, again, my tips are pretty much shot on this one. And we're going to go right over top with the dark pumpkin pie. And look at how the dark pumpkin pie blends with the pink. I absolutely love the look of that. Okay, and then the last touch is to come back in with our light and touch up these petals, darken them down a little bit. Okay, isn't that pretty? Love that look. All right, now we are going to do the center with dark Daffodil Delight. So again, I'm just going to come in with my dark. And there we go. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Love that look. The tiny stamp in the set. Oh, the tiny stamp. You mean this little bitty guy, Gail? You're going to see that on a project later this week. Stay tuned. It's really just for texture. Honestly, it's just a texture stamp to add a little bit of interest. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pop that up onto our card. Again, adding a few dimensionals to the back. Oh, Margaret, you ordered your bundle. All right. I'm going to be stuck in the UPS guy, waiting for it to arrive. And we'll add a couple more and pop this on. There we go. So that's going to kind of stand just towards the left side of our card here. Okay, now our sentiment, again, this is using the Stylish Shapes die. This is a smaller banner from that set. And I'm going to use the thank you so much as soon as I figure out where I put it. It's in the other basket. There it is. And again, we're going to stamp in the Memento Black. So we'll ink that up. And again, I only cut one of these, so we have one shot to get this right, girls. Here we go. Oh, I got to move this closer. I'm sorry if this is almost out of view of the camera. But if I have any chance of getting this on straight, I have to be, okay, that's not bad. I can live with that. It's very hard to stamp when you can't look straight down. I got to tell you, that's the hardest thing about doing lives. All right, now this is actually going to kind of tuck up underneath that leaf. We're going to add a couple more dimensionals. So 1 and 2. And then we will pop this on. Again, we're going to tuck that little leaf. And oops, I put one too far over because I forgot we popped that leaf. So let's get rid of that dimensional. Otherwise, our sentiment is not going to lie flat. It's going to bump up over that popped leaf. So we're going to get rid of that. And instead, put just a little bit of seal there so it actually adheres to that popped up leaf. That's better. So that's going to go on right about there. Just like that. Now I'm going to use some of the not currently available shiny sequins. You could use actually any embellishment, but I've got these funky green ones here. So we're going to use a couple of them. Just pop them on. And there we go. Done and done. Now on the inside of this one, I did even more coloring. I couldn't stop coloring with this, this beautiful image. So there we go. That's number 2. Let's get this out of the way. And number 3 was my first attempt at a fractured card. Now these are everywhere. If you are anywhere on social media, you will see a million examples of the fractured technique. I hadn't actually tried it until I got this bundle, and I was like, okay, we got to try it out because this paper is fantastic. It's actually much, much easier than it looks. I'm going to show you how I do it. I know there are lots of ways to do it, but this is how I did it because I wanted to get 2 different patterns of DSP going in here. You could actually do it with 4 with this technique, but I went with 2 to keep it fairly non-busy. All right, so let's work on our background. I'm starting with a piece of basic white cardstock. You could actually use any color. It's just going to be our foundation to build our card front on. So this is 4 by 5¼ inches. And then I have a die cut. You could just cut a square. This is the second largest from the Stylish Shapes dies. I think it's 2 3/8. Yes, 2 3/8 square. You could certainly cut it. You don't want anything too much bigger because you do need some real estate on both sides for this technique to kind of look right. It will not look as good if you have too large a square. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this square down, sort of centered on my white panel here. Now, I did actually make an effort to get this straight. So again, I'm using my grid lines to pay attention to my points here to make sure that it's fairly straight on there. Okay. All right. Now I have just some, and I think I forgot to put these actually in the measurements. These are just 1/4 inch strips. Again, just cut off scraps. Excuse me. Take another sip of water. No, Laura, you're right. No bows tonight. Not a bow in sight. I know it's shocking. So I have just a couple of strips here, and we are going to work our way around gluing them on. So I'm going to start with this one here. I'm going to extend it off the edge of my white panel. So I'm going to put just a little bit of glue. And I find liquid glue is the easiest to work with here, just because you do need to have a little bit of adjusting time. So we're just going to tuck that in, and I'm just going to butt this right up against my square that I've got glued on there. I may need to add just a little bit more glue here. I didn't go far enough down. Okay. So I've got that on. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to trim this off. Okay. Then I'm going to come around up here and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to butt it right up against the existing strip and the square. So I'll add a little glue. And we'll pop that on there. And then once again, we're going to trim this off. I should trim this guy off too. Okay, and then what's this one going to be? No, we'll use this one. You do need square ends, right, for this to work. So this one, because it's angled, won't work so well. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. So again, a little bit of glue. Okay, now here we have a length that is actually defined. This is the 2 3/8 inch length. So we're actually going to take and cut this last little strip. We'll trim it off, and then we're going to cut it down to exactly 2 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and we're just going to line this up at 2 3/8. So we have a piece that is exactly, and when you have a little scrap this small, it's hard to get it lined up at 2 3/8 because the lines aren't quite long enough. But I'm guessing that's fairly close. So then that is going to slide in there. Okay, so again, we'll add a bit of glue. And we'll tuck that in there, just like that. Look at that. It's like a glove, I tell ya. There we go. Okay, so now you could stop there. All right, if you wanted to use just DSP, you could stop there and just have one sheet of DSP with that fractured look. All right, but I wanted to use a couple of different patterns. So again, I have some offcut strips from the DSP pack, and I have cut all of these to 2 3/8 inch wide. Why did I do that? Well, because they're going to slide in around our focal image here. So I'm going to start with this little scrap. It's going to tuck right in here. Again, fitting just perfectly. So I'm just going to take and put a little bit of glue on my cardstock and tuck that in there. And then I'm actually going to trim this off. I might be able to get away with using this on the other side too. So we're just going to take our snips. If you want to use, if you have a guillotine trimmer or even your paper trimmer, you could use that to trim off this excess, but I find just using your snips works just fine. No, I don't think I am going to be able to get, nope, we'll use a square piece. So I'm going to come in now with this piece, and it's going to tuck in up here. There we go. And again, we'll give it a trim. It's fairly easy to trim with your scissors. Just use the edge of the cardstock as a guide. So we'll get that out of the way. And then I have a couple of pieces of the green. They're going to go in the opposite corners. So I'll add a little bit of glue and pop this on. And again, we flip and kit. Clean that up. That's why we're hanging a bit there. There we go. And then our last piece is going to run, and I think I might actually, yes, I do have enough to run the full length there. So again, a little bit of glue. Stick it on down and trim. Okay, so this fractured technique is a great way to use up, again, odd bits and pieces of DSP that you have left over from projects. And it's a great way to showcase lots of different patterns in the DSP. You could, with this particular look, do 4 different patterns if you wanted to, right? 1 in each quadrant. Doesn't really matter, but there you go. That is the finished look. And actually, I realized we just went the opposite direction, but it doesn't matter. This one went, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. All right, let's set this aside and work on the rest of our card. So I have here the single Zinnia image that I've stamped and started coloring. So let me pull in my markers. So this time I'm using dark and light berry burst and dark blackberry bliss. I don't often use that color, but oh goodness, I need to use it more. It's so pretty. So again, I'm going to start by laying down a little bit of the light berry burst. I was going to say berry bliss. That's not right. Berry burst. And then come in with my dark. Again, I'm just really following those shading lines on the stamped image. And then I'm going to come back in with the light. And the magic really happens when I come in with the dark blackberry bliss, because that's what really makes this pop. So I'm going to come in with my dark, and I'm just going to go really, really quickly, adding a little bit of shading with the dark. And it just really, and I don't have to blend that out. It's just going to blend in beautifully with the berry burst. And then we'll do the last segment here. So we'll come around. I try to leave those little, I guess they're called stamens, I think. I'm not really up on all my flower parts, but I think they're stamens. I'm going to leave them white because I do want to be able to get them with the yellow. The yellow I find really pops against the purple. So now I'm coming in with my dark berry burst. There we go. And then again, oops. First I need my light berry burst to blend that out a bit. Make sure I get right to the edges. And then again, adding that really dark shading with the Blackberry Bliss. So pretty. All right, so now to color the center, I'm going to use my dark, is this dark? Yes, it is. My dark Daffodil Delight, just want to make sure I grab the right one, to do the little stars or stamens and the little dots sort of around the center. So we'll fill those all in. There we go. And then I'm going to use my light pumpkin pie to do the very center. So we get a bit of a two-tone effect. This is actually the way it's colored on the DSP images. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Love the look of that. Oh, so gorgeous. Now, I've already die cut an image ready to go here, but I am going to color my, show you how to color the leaves. I won't do both, but I will show you how to do one leaf. So I'm going to start with my light Old Olive. And again, I'm just going to lay down a really quick, rough layer of light. I'm not trying to be super careful here. And then I'm going to come in with the dark. Is this dark? Yes. For a minute, I thought I had grabbed Mossy Meadow. I didn't. It's dark Old Olive. We're good. And then again, blend it out with the light. Okay, really easy to get shading with this particular marker set. All right, so let's finish putting this one together. There is my finished leaf. So this, oh, you know what? I need to finish coloring this one because I need to use 2 on my card. So here we go. We're going to color one more leaf. I was not thinking straight. So let's finish this up. And then, now I tend to like to add shading, like add the dark with my bullet tip. I feel like I have more control with how much ink is going down with that tip. I don't know, that's just a personal preference. Again, if you're new to blends, experiment, see what you like. There's nothing better than just sitting, stamping a bunch of images and just coloring. That was what I did on the weekend with the stamp set. Just sat and colored. It was great. All right, so now we're going to finish putting this together. Except we have to stamp our sentiment. So we're going to use that same thanks so much, or thank you so much. This label is from the Enduring Beauty dies. Love this label. It's worth buying that. No, I got to tell you, that's a beautiful suite as well. I just realized how crooked I am here on camera. Let's straighten out. Now we're going to stamp our thank you so much towards the right on our label because it's going to tuck in behind our flower. So this is going to get glued sort of down in this corner here, like this. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of seal to the back of my zinnia. And we're going to add our leaves. And then we're going to add a little bit more seal and adhere it to our label. Just like that. I'm going to adjust the leaves a little bit there. And then that, oh, that's really crooked. There. Let's do it that way. That is going to get popped up on the front of our card. So again, just a couple of dimensionals. And I'm going to take my little bitty gingham bow and I'm going to adhere it in the bottom left corner, sorry, bottom right corner of my label. So I'm going to add a glue dot to the back of my label if they want to come off the roll. Stubborn glue dots. And then we're just going to press that onto the bow. And that's all going to get glued in one shot. So we'll get rid of our backings here. And now the trick with this is to make sure your label is straight, right? That's the part that really matters. The flower can be cockeyed as much as you like, but the label needs to be straight. Okay. And then that is going to get adhered to a berry burst card base, 4¼ by 11 inches, scored at 5½. So we'll fold that along our score line. And then add a little bit of glue. And pop that on. And I love the way having the same color card base as my my pieces on the, or my segments on the front of the card makes it look like it's kind of continuous, right? Like the frame and the card base are all kind of one continuous piece. But there you go. All right, and we'll add a couple more little bits of bling here. Put one there, and one more up here. And there we go. Done and done. Now again, on the inside, I added another white panel on which I did more coloring because, you know, coloring is required. Yep, bow on this card, you are right. All right, so here we go. There are our 3 projects. Now, normally I would show you more projects with this suite, but I've got to give you a reason to come back later this week, so I'm not going to show you more projects. I am going to tell you that on Thursday, we're going to be focusing on the beautiful DSP. Let me come back so I can see you all. There we go. We're going to be focusing on the beautiful DSP. I'm going to show you lots of quick projects. So 3 really quick and easy projects that focus on the DSP. And then Friday, we're all about Fun Fold. So Friday, it's going to be Fun Fold Friday. And I have 3 fantastic fun folds to share with you that, again, feature this beautiful DSP. Okay, so set a reminder, because it's not typical to see me on a Thursday at 5. So set a reminder to come back on Thursday at 5, and I will see you then. Okay, thanks everybody for joining me, and I will see you Thursday for another episode of Thursday Live at 5. Bye for now.